Hello, welcome to Starcastic Remarks. My name is Ryan. I'm the host of Starcastic Remarks, and we are the official Dallas Stars podcast of the Hockey Podcast Network, and we are the only fan-led Dallas Stars podcast as well. Please go and use the promo code THPN the next time you go and use the DraftKings app. That lets them know that we are the ones that sent you, and we'd really appreciate that. We get a little bit of support when you do said thing. This is the after game review for game number 51 against the Nashville Predators. It was a tie game, but the Stars ended up losing this today in a shootout, 2-1. And honestly, guys, how are y'all doing tonight? I don't know how I feel about this game. I'm just kind of like, meh. What's y'all's feelings in tonight's game?
I'm as happy as you can be while losing. So we still technically lost. We lost 1-1 somehow, which is idiotic. Anyway, I digress. The Stars played a good game, and they really deserved to win this game. You could tell that they didn't really have their legs fully, and that's because last night they played especially top-heavy minutes. Tonight, still top-heavy minutes. I mean, I don't know how those guys were still skating in overtime. So that was good from them. From the start, you could tell the Stars were playing hard. The only part of the game where I felt like they kind of let up was after the first goal for the Preds in the first period. But then once the second period hit, obviously right back onto it. We'll get into the goal summary for that one. But I'm really happy with the way the Stars played this game. Got a big, important 1 point. That's huge. 3 points out of 4 when we're expecting 2. I'll take it. Take the extra point.
And we should also mention that the Stars were not able to leave last night because of the ice that's going on in the Dallas area. So they were not able to take a plane to Nashville until I think this afternoon is when they actually got there. Mm-hmm. So that's another big factor. It's a little bit different maybe. But, honestly, during the broadcast, Rope Hintz even said, it's kind of nice to sleep in my own bed. And, yeah, we had to have a flight today and then play a game. But it was nice to sleep in my own bed. James, what were your thoughts for tonight's game?
Yeah, it definitely felt like the Stars played a very solid game tonight, and 5-on-5 they definitely looked like the better team. So,
and we'll get into that as we go on here tonight. But if you had to give a MVP for the game for the Dallas Stars, who would it be on your MVP list? Number 1.
Jake Oettinger, still. He's playing great, yeah. Still solid, super confident. I mean, he saves 3 shootout goals, which 90% of the time means that you won the shootout. Didn't happen, I guess, tonight, but still, it was a great outing by him still. I love that Bones put him back in. I think it was definitely the right decision. He still played great, especially on the penalty kill. He played really well, so great game from him.
James, what do you think?
I mean, overall, I didn't think anyone particularly stood out tonight, but it was just the team overall played well. So,
mine is not really it's not a player. It's a faction of the team. It's the special teams tonight, specifically the penalty kill side. And I know you're giving me that face a little bit, Chris, because obviously the Stars did not score on the power play tonight, and especially that 4-minute, or not the 4-minute, all the power plays that we had. Weren't very good tonight, but we had a couple of decent shots. But maybe I should specifically say just the penalty kill tonight was probably my MVP for tonight, because it especially in the second period, it kept us in the game. So, before I get into the goal summary tonight, I'm just very conflicted tonight. I just feel tired. If that makes any sense, are y'all feeling tired?
Oh, poor you.
I know,
I mean,
but.
Those 2 back-to-back games got to be tough on the body, huh, Ryan?
I know, yeah. Sitting here staring at a screen while, other people are doing all the work. But anyways, a part of me is happy with the way that the Stars played tonight. I cannot be unhappy with the way that the Stars played tonight. Absolutely cannot. They played great, but they can't get goals to support Oettinger, who is playing really well. And they're leaving points out again.
I'll tell you what's frustrating me the most is the power play, because they put that graphic up showing our power play in the month of February. They said it was 23rd worst in the league, and that's terrible. We have 3 goals on the power play in the month of February, and that's costing us points. It cost us 2 points tonight. I mean, the 4-on-3 in overtime there's no excuse not to score on that. A 4-on-3 is like almost all the way to a 5-on-3. Like it's something you got to score on, especially when it's a full 2 minutes. So that's the number one reason that we lost tonight. Not even really the shootout. I mean, the shootout sucked, but I mean, what are you gonna say? It's a shootout. It's not hockey.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I hate about shootouts. But the thing is what are you gonna?
It's better than a tie.
Exactly. You're right. But a game like that, I mean, it was a pretty good game. The Stars, I agree with you, Chris. They deserve to win this game, but UC Saros stood on his head. He was the better goaltender tonight. He had to be the better goaltender tonight.
Yeah.
And the Stars couldn't take care of the business on the power play. That's really what it was.
That's the theme of the month. I mean, there's a lot more wins that we get this month just if our power play plays the way that they normally do. And it's really costing us recently. I think a big finger you can point is at our offensive D guys. They're not really showing up the way they were earlier. They had lots of assists, setting up lots of stuff on the power play. They didn't look good tonight, honestly. There's a lot of just bobbles with the puck, not good movement. I mean, it really wasn't good. So
let's go ahead and get into the goal summary for this game, and we'll kind of talk about some of the storylines coming out of this game tonight. And we'll obviously hit the power play here again here in a little bit. But at the beginning of the game, right off the bat, I wouldn't say it's really a fight. It was more like a kerfuffle, if that makes any sense. It was Radek Voxa and Tanner Jeannot, which honestly, that's a good trade-off for me. You know, Tanner Jeannot is a good rookie. He's been good this year, and they're both off the ice for 5 minutes. That starts the game, and maybe pumps a little bit of energy into the Stars. Maybe. I mean, I think it was good. It was the right thing for Foxa to do, in my opinion.
I especially like it based off of how we started the Jets game. So the Jets game, we didn't start playing until the first goal. And then tonight, the fight that's going to instantly spark you. And if it doesn't, you're definitely doing something wrong. So I think it's a good way to get it going when you know that your team can't get itself going without something happening in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just start every game with a fight. Put Fox out there, make him fight, because Lord knows he can't score.
I feel bad for the guy. He's got some sort of nagging injury going on with him, and I know he's not he's not the guy that we expected him to be when we signed him or when we drafted him. Excuse me. We expected him to kind of be like a second line center, maybe even a top line person. But I don't know how many goals he has on the season. I think he might have 1, maybe 2. But, we kind of need more from Foxa in that role, and we didn't really get that from him. And he had his opportunities tonight. He really did. He had at least 2 or 3.
He was on the doorstep for the game-winning goal, and he whiffed on the first one and put the second one right into the logo.
Right.
I mean, that's embarrassing. I mean, more than half the guys on our team would have scored that.
Well, going into the first period, about 6 minutes and 54 seconds into the game, would start penalty trouble for both teams tonight. My gosh. John Klingberg.
I'm going to talk about it again. The officiating tonight again sucked. It was awful.
Really? I didn't think – I thought some of them were ticky-tacky, but I didn't think it was all that bad.
It was bad.
What?
Other than the high stick on Ben,
okay, how about
they were
this?
super ticky-tacky. Then going into the third, they called nothing. I mean, it's just so inconsistent. It's crazy.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can't complain about the fact that they didn't give us opportunities.
Oh, no, I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying the refs suck. Yeah.
Well,
I'll fully accept that the Stars suck too, but the refs are bad as well. I'm just keeping this going as a recurring segment on the show. When is Chris going to complain about the refs?
Well, the first period would continue on, and I honestly, guys, I thought in the first, for the first 10 minutes that the Stars were the better team. I really thought so.
I agree.
And then I wouldn't say it was against the flow of play because it was a 2-on-2 opportunity, but Nashville would score first, if I can talk, from Tomasino. A rookie gets his 7th of the year from Dante Fabro, and it was just a well-played shot is all it was. And then Nashville is on the board first. They're leading 1-0 about halfway through the first period.
Yeah, it was a bad play by Hakanpää. Hakanpää kind of just let him go by, not very strong on the puck, which is kind of sad because he played great on the penalty kill, and he makes the one mistake and it goes in the back of the net. So unfortunate, but one mistake goes in often, so can't let a bad one like that happen, especially given the guy the slot.
Agreed. And more penalties in the first period would continue. Nashville would take a penalty. Carrier would get a slashing penalty against Jacob Peterson. The Stars would do absolutely nothing with that power play. It was
Recurring
atrocious. Yeah, recurring theme. Going into the first intermission, it's 1-0, and I wouldn't say that I was frustrated, but I was kind of like, oh man, like really? Like we played a really good period and we're down by a goal. And I wasn't too worried because I figured they would, kind of up the energy a little bit more in the second, which they did. And going into the second period, Robertson would actually get a goal very early on in the period, and he would get his 22nd of the year from Pavs and Suter. So it's the Minutemen line again, taking care of business, and it ties the game 1-1.
Yep, one game break for the Minutemen, and they're right back at it. And same for Robertson. He has his terrible goal scoring slump that was just inexcusable by him. I mean, truly awful play overall. So really glad he's back on the sheet because, man.
Well, and he's had so many opportunities over the last couple of games, and it's finally nice to see him get rewarded for a goal that maybe should have been saved, but whatever.
It was good aggressive play by the whole.
It was good aggressive play.
Yeah,
him. That's true. But that seemed to be a recurring theme tonight for the Stars. Lots of good aggressive play. We're on I know it's a back-to-back and we played really well and stuff like that, but I really would have liked to see more goal support. Yeah. And it didn't happen tonight. So if I had to be negative, it's got to be that the Stars are putting in the work, but the results are not showing right now. And that's slightly frustrating. And that seems to be a theme over the past, week and a half, 2 weeks, is that, the Stars are playing well enough to win, but they're not scoring.
And the big thing that they're not scoring is the power play. It really is. I mean, from being fourth in the league on the power play to being in the bottom half, that's a huge jump. I mean, we're not in the bottom half now, but for the month we're in the bottom half. Y'all know what I'm saying. But that's a bunch of goals that are dropping off. So it makes sense. But we either need to get the power play going or we need to find them somewhere else. And I didn't want to get into this before we finish the goal summary, but I'm going to anyway.
Go for it.
The bottom half of the lineup for the Stars is not helping us whatsoever, like in any way. There's no checking line. We don't have the FCC line like we boasted about from a while ago. There's honestly not great faceoff percentage. The first period faceoffs, we were losing 35-65. That's pretty awful. I mean, if those lines can't win that's the thing that the bottom line is supposed to do best, is win faceoffs, and they couldn't do it. The third line we haven't found any combination that gets the third line any kind of scoring. I mean, so those two lines aren't helping on defense. They're historically haven't been great in the power on the penalty kill. They have recently, but even then, still on the penalty kill, we have Hintz killing penalties, we have Pavelski killing penalties, we have Ben killing penalties. It's not the bottom guys. Sagan's killing penalties too. Yeah, it's not the bottom guys. So we talk about, it's only a one-line team, and we've been on Ben and Sagan, who have been a lot better as of recently. But the bottom half of the team is not helping whatsoever. And it's especially apparent in these past two games because we see the Jets game all top heavy. We're playing lines 1 and 2 all game long because they're the only ones who can do anything. We come into this game and we can't roll 4 lines. We can't do it. They're not good enough. If we roll 4 lines, we're going to get beat. And that's going to get us into a lot of trouble. And that's a hard way to win hockey games when you're relying on the oldest team in the league to just have 22 minutes each night for your top line. Like that's not a recipe for success. So those bottom guys who are trying to hold on to his spot are not doing a good job. And I'm very happy that we got that waiver pickup. That's a great start to it, I think. So we got to start making guys nervous for their jobs.
That's a lot of good analysis there, Chris. That's a lot of good insight because I was actually going to mention that here towards the end. But we did with news-wise, we pick up Studnicka from New Jersey. I kind of did a little bit of research on him, and he's mostly been on the fourth line. He's not like a overly, he doesn't have like a huge upside like Robertson does and Hintz and all that sort of stuff. But the thing is that I first noticed about him compared to the rest of the team. Guess how old he is? He's
Young.
24. He's 24 compared to the guy that we just waived, Tanner Caro, which Caro's been good for us recently, but 29, 24, that's a big difference. And maybe that says something about what Nil is thinking about going into the trade deadline and what he thinks he needs to do for this team. Do you think it's maybe getting more youthful and that's why he's going out and getting this guy? Or what do y'all think?
Even when we were in the offseason, when we picked up Raffle, like I hated that pickup. I mean, we have young guys who are chomping at the bit to get into the NHL, who are ready to play their hardest so that they can earn a spot, and they're not even given a chance. I mean, Raffle there's been no question if Raffle's going to be in the lineup. I mean, he's been in from opening night. He's never had anyone pressure him for his job. And what has Raffle really done? I mean, he's an average penalty killer. I mean, not really. I mean, our penalty kill's pretty bad. I mean, it jumped a bunch of spots recently, but over the season, it hasn't been good. Is he like a great forechecker? Not really. Is he a great defender? Not really. I haven't noticed anything. He's unnoticeable. So, I mean, I don't know why we insist on getting these veteran guys with experience to come in and play these roles when we could have guys who really care and are trying their hardest just to make a name for themselves. Those guys are going to have more passion. And that's something that this team lacks a ton of, is the passion. And I think that's a big reason right there.
And, I'll jump on the bandwagon with you saying that, the bottom six really needs a lot of work. And, I'm starting to, kind of agree with you even more, because obviously we saw that with all the moves that were made, not just the Studnicka pickup on waivers, but the fact that Riley Tufte came in here tonight in a physical game.
Good.
And he looked pretty decent tonight. Now, he didn't play very much. I think he only played 5 minutes and 49 seconds tonight, and that was about it.
Which is ridiculous. On the forecheck, he was so hard and pushing.
Right. And, and obviously, I think Jim Nill and Rick Bowness are noticing the same thing that you are, Chris. Because, I mean, all of those moves 100% solidify that opinion, what you're talking about. So that's a really good point. And, we really are getting the offense that we need for the most part. Lately, it's been kind of dried up because the power play has not been taking care of business. But that bottom six, yeah, right, exactly. That bottom statement, the bottom six statement, really needs to be pushed even more. And maybe it's a bad thing to go. I've been saying if you're gonna go and get a top six winger, maybe that's not the answer for the Stars right now. If you're really gonna buy at the trade deadline, so I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, just looking at stats of the bottom six players, the best goal scoring forwards in the bottom six we've had this year has been Peterson and Glendening. And Peterson has 9 goals and Glendening has 7. So,
yeah, no Raffle, no Foxa. They've been bad.
I think and let me talk about Foxa for a second, because I think he's getting a lot of hate, and he deserves to get a lot of hate because he's not playing super well this year, and
he's playing bad.
He's playing hurt. He's playing bad. But
I don't know if he's playing.
I know.
I mean, last year we know he was playing hurt. He had a messed up hand or wrist or whatever. Mm-hmm. This year we don't know if he's playing hurt. I mean, I'm pretty much on the edge of done giving him passes for whatever's ailing him recently.
And that's fine, but to the point, I don't agree with some people that are saying, we should just get rid of him. I mean, a lot of people are saying that right now. At least I'm seeing on Twitter, and I'm just kind of like, I'm not at that point right now. I mean, he's allowed to have a bad season.
And he has had 2 bad seasons in a row.
Okay, but
this is his second. Bad.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
And he hasn't been great before that.
Well, and
his best time was with the FCC line.
I still don't think that it's time to pass on him. In my
I just
opinion.
think a guy like Demiani or Delandria in that spot could have so much more impact, so much more energy for the team. It just feels like Fox and Raffle Glendening aren't worried about their spot. So why should they bring more energy whenever they're not going to be the guys to score? They're not worried about their spot. They're just kind of playing whenever they're put out there.
Now, Damiani, I might agree with you on. He hasn't really been given an opportunity as much. But Delandria, I mean, he kind of had his opportunity last year, and he started off real strong and kind of faltered off. And then, I mean,
Well,
and you and I were both commenting on it in the middle of the season, that the fact that, that's a really bad defense.
Yes.
No.
You can take your pick of Stars prospects. I'm saying anybody given the chance, I feel like would bring more energy to the team than all three of those guys on the bottom line are. And it's not healthy for a team to have its base. Like, it feels like those guys don't care. I mean, there's no identity with them. There's not like we don't put them up against their offensive lines. They're not a checking line. They're not a forechecking line. They're not a defensive line. I mean, what are they? A face-off line? Like, that's not going to get you much.
But is that what's missing, Chris, though? Is it just youthful energy in the bottom six? Is that really what's missing?
That's not the only thing that's missing, but it's something that's missing that we haven't talked about a lot this season, which I thought was worth noting tonight, because I feel like young legs in the second game of a back-to-back, that could really be something huge.
Yeah.
And it felt like there was no energy. And I mean, it makes sense for them to have no energy. They still played hard tonight without the speed. I'm not faulting them on that at all. But there's just there was no speed, and I feel like you get some with younger guys who maybe didn't play as much the night before. Maybe you can play them a lot more in the first period of the second night of a back-to-back. But we don't have that option because all of our guys are older veterans who aren't known for speed.
But again, you've got Heiskanen who's got speed. You've got Hintz who's got speed. You've got Garyanov who's got speed. At times we've seen
22
Peterson
to 27 minutes the night before. I mean,
and they did it again tonight too.
You're done.
Yeah.
And the lack of speed on the fourth line, the lack of the ability to play them against the good players on the other team makes that a necessity. We have to play those guys that much because otherwise we're going to lose, no doubt. So and there's nothing we can do about this right now, honestly, in my opinion. Like, this is just the way this team is going to be built. And if we sell, then that can be taken care of. But it's just something I wanted to mention because we haven't really talked about it. We put a lot of pressure on the top guys, but we're not getting help from the bottom either.
So, 15 minutes later, get back into the goal summary. There is no goal summary. That's it. But we should talk about the third period a little, or the rest of the second period a little bit, because it was just, penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty.
Jamie, fun way to watch hockey.
Yeah, and seriously, it was not fun. But Jamie Benn would get a double minor for high sticking. Ryan Suter would get a cross-checking penalty. Matt Duchene would get a roughing penalty, which I guess a bear hug is a roughing penalty now.
Well, the cross-check was garbage too, so.
Yeah, that was garbage. I agree. And then Ryan Suter again would get a slashing call on Philip Forsberg.
Garbage.
That was garbage as well. But again, Ryan Suter, that's two penalties on him just in the second period. And as good as the penalty kill was tonight, you have to look at the other side, and we'll go ahead and get into it again. But just the lack of ability to get a goal on the power play is really hurting this team. I mean, you just need just one out of the 4 that you got tonight.
One out of the past 2 games would have been huge.
Yes, you're right. You're exactly right. And we weren't able to take care of business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Both nights.
Yes.
9 missed opportunities to get 2 points. We have not let the team get any.
We have more goals on the penalty kill than on the power play.
Right. And I know that, Razor was talking about that's a really big point in tonight's game, but you gave an extra point to Nashville, a team you're trying to chase down. And I know.
Honestly, what that means for me is that we are not chasing Nashville anymore. We are now firmly chasing that second wild card spot. For me, we are chasing that second wild card spot, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't agree with that.
I don't care what teams it is. Honestly, you're just trying to sneak in. I mean, you're trying to scrap as many points as you can. This is a point that we didn't expect to get. I mean, honestly, can we all agree on that? Like, second night to back-to-back, oldest team in the league. You expected a point out of this game?
I did. Yeah, I really did. And specifically because there have been big games lately where we have gone super flat and we have not played well. And I wish I could remember exactly what game it was, but it was the Calgary game. That's what I'm talking about. Because that was an opportunity for us to, before they went on their insane 10-game winning streak, that was an opportunity for us to jump into the playoffs and, take a team who we were chasing at that point. We're not anymore because they're way ahead. But, we didn't show up for that game. We didn't. We got beat handily. And I was expecting a win tonight. I really was. And I know that seems crazy, but just because of the way that they came out in that game against Calgary, I'm sure that was something that Rick Bowness pointed out to the guys and said, guys, this is our opportunity. You get 2 points in this game tonight. You don't give them any. You're only 2 points behind the Nashville Predators with the game in hand. And it's not a full opportunity lost for the Stars tonight, but I think it's like a half opportunity lost for the Stars tonight, if that makes any sense. But anyway,
I don't think you would ever expect a win on a back-to-back, especially on a Preds team that's doing very well. I mean,
but
the Preds
not
came out
recently,
flat tonight, but
not recently. They haven't been.
They beat the Panthers the other night in a great game, but they're 1-4 in their last 5, and so. Recently, they haven't been very.
But they
good.
should
on a back-to-back with the speed and the weapons that they have.
But they should have lost this game tonight too.
They should have lost. We played better. Yes, we played better than them. But I'm still happy with the way we played overall as a team. So I'm not gonna hone in on the fact that we didn't win a second night of a back-to-back. I think that's not a good thing to expect when it's a playoff team that you're playing.
And maybe I should be a little bit more clear with what I'm thinking. I'm not mad, if that makes any sense. I'm just kind of like, if only we could have taken care of that, and it would be so nice to be in that position. And it just seems like when the Stars find themselves in a position where they can get in the playoffs, or it be favorable for them when it comes to the playoff picture, they can't take care of business. And I'll go way back. There was a game at the end of the year, game 82. It was against the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota was not going to make the Minnesota was not going to make the playoffs, and all Dallas had to do was win the game. All they had in any way, all they had to do was win the game, and they were in the playoffs, and they didn't take care of business.
What year was that? I want to say it was 2012.
Oh, I don't even remember it. I'd have to look it up, but I remember being so hacked off after that game. And I was much younger. I was like your age. Oh my gosh, I'm old. Okay, but
I'll agree with you. It's a big missed opportunity because we did play better. We deserved to win, and yeah, you're right. It's a big chance. I mean, we would be in the playoff. We'd be in the playoff spot right now if we won the game. And when you deserve to win, you should find a way to. But I'm still overall happy with the way that we played.
And Saros did have a huge game tonight too. There were 1, 2, 3, 4.
He does.
Four shots in particular that I was just like, okay, that's a really good save. And two of them were Foxa. So, but whatever. But anyways, anything else we need to talk about before I talk about stats?
The physicality of this game was like insane.
It felt like a playoff game.
So
it felt like a Stars Predators game.
Yeah, it felt like a Stars Predators game. It's what they do every time they come together now. These teams hate each other.
They do.
I love it.
Klingberg getting into his ear on his way to the box. That was so sweet. That was awesome. Let him have it, dude.
Honestly, I thought Klingberg kind of sold it a little bit, if you ask me, on that penalty.
He took 2 hacks at his skates. You want him not to fall?
No, I'm not saying that he shouldn't have fallen, but I think he sold it a little bit, and I think that's maybe why he was chirping a little bit. It was nice to see. So good for Klingberg.
Always love Preds games though; they're so fun. Ever since the Winter Classic, it was already a rivalry, and the Winter Classic just solidified it. It was like, this is gonna be it for the next 5 years.
And just to mention this too, because I thought it was interesting, but I was really confused at the beginning of the game because they kept booing Suter, and I was just like, okay, he was a former Predator or whatever, but they wouldn't boo Radulov. And I was like, what's going on with that? And I had to put it on Twitter, and one of the Nashville fans kind of pointed out to me. He's like, when he left Nashville to go to Minnesota, he said, "Oh, I'm not going to leave Nashville. I'm going to stay in Nashville, and I'm, loyal to the fan base there." And he totally did a 360 and turned around or 180 and turned around and took the 12-year contract. But anyways, I thought that was interesting and worth of note tonight.
When you get a 12-year contract,
you can't even get those anymore.
Yeah,
it's not possible.
They literally made the rule because of him. So
right, him and Zach Parise. So, a couple of players that I really noticed tonight that were good. Jamie Benn was really good tonight, in my opinion. The physicality, he thrives in these kind of games, and I know he's not the same Jamie Benn that he was when he was, Beast Ben or Beast Mode Jamie Benn or whatever, but he's still putting up a good fight. He's still, solidifying that second line, which, I mean, for $9.5 million, it sucks that he's doing that. He should be a first liner, but at least he's doing it. And the other guy that I wanted to point out tonight was Tyler Seguin. And he's almost been doing it kind of quietly, and I mentioned it just yesterday, but he's been a point per game player for the Stars for the last 15 games. Yep. So we really need those guys to kind of push some offense. And, the one thing that I wanted to point out that was kind of unsavory tonight was the fact that top line is getting a lot of chances, especially in the game tonight, and they're not really burying many of their chances, which is very unusual and very bad news if you're the Dallas Stars. So,
yeah. Well, again, I'm going to go back to it too. Power play again. I mean, that first line, they score 5-on-5 a lot, but they score a ton on the power play too. So, I mean, that's going to be another big thing on it.
James, you got anything else before I go into stats?
One player I really liked, specifically one play from Thomas Harley tonight was his step up on the offense there. That was really nice to see, and it's something that we don't even see from any of our defensemen right now. So seeing him come up like that and take that shot, that was awesome.
I'm loving Harley on defense right now. He's bringing something that Sekera and Hanley just don't. Like, he's bringing the size, he's bringing the aggressiveness, like you're saying, James. I think that's been a great addition. Hopefully he stays around for a while because I'm loving it right now. Go ahead, Ryan. Oh, okay.
Dang it! Sorry. Go ahead. Go. I'm gonna be over here. You go ahead.
I forgot what I was gonna say because of that. I'm despondent, bro. I have no idea.
Despondent? What are you, an SAT student? Golly, that's like a $20 word. Okay.
All right, we use big words here in A&M. No, you're not used to that over at SFA. So.
I know, Stephen and Foston, music educator, genius people. Well, I'll talk and I'll let you remember what you were going to talk about. One thing I did want to talk about, actually, and I'm glad you mentioned that, James, about Harley, is the lack of offense from our D-men, this season. We haven't really seen that very much. And, we talk about, the first line's doing all the scoring and stuff like that. Well, if we had a little bit of help from, any of our top three guys, Miro, Klinger, or Lindell, Lindell's shown some offensive upside in years past. If we have just a little bit from them, that helps a ton. And I don't know if they're just not taking shots or if they're just not pushing it enough or what the deal is with that. But I think that's a really big, important point that if we want to make the playoffs and we want to be, more ambitious in the playoffs and push for, second round, if we do make the playoffs, those three guys have got to step up more offensively. And I know we ask them to play big minutes, but still we need more from them in that aspect.
And that's one of the reasons why I mentioned the play from Thomas Harley right there, because
he's the only one doing it.
Yeah. The defenseman with the most goals on our team right now is Ryan Suter, and he only has 4. So that's really bad.
And the fact I didn't even say his name when I was mentioning that. I should have said his name, and he's our leading scorer on the blue line.
I'm pretty sure we are one of the worst teams in defenseman goals.
We are in the bottom half with Klingberg, Heiskanen, and Suter, which is awful.
That's amazing, and not in a good way. Yeah, that's just incredulous.
There's
a big word.
Good job, buddy. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'll leave y'all with one final good thought. Ottinger it's not a fluke now. He is set. He is the starter for the Stars right now. He's playing out of his mind. He is very confident. If we can find our power play and our defense can find some offense, we're going to be playing great. And we're going to get into the playoffs no problems. Those are two big ifs. But I like the way that he's clicked. We just got to find those other two things. We talked, me and you, Ryan, talked about while I was in the car, how selling is a really, it looks really good right now. We can get a lot from the guys that we have as rentals.
But there's that little glimmer of hope.
If those
I
things
hate
click,
it. Just go away.
If the power play comes back, if that front line is on full blast, if the D shows up and starts scoring goals, the Stars are one of the best teams. Those are some huge ifs. But they have the stuff. Like this team has the stuff to be a great team. And that's why it's so hard to just absolutely say sell, because this team can be great. They're not living up to it right now.
And again, we saw it in 2020 when we started,
there's always
this
that
podcast.
chance. There's always that chance.
Like that little speck just needs to go away, and it would be so much easier to sell everything.
A little glimmer of hope. Indespondent.
Oh, flipped it around. Nice. All right. Anyways, let's get into game stats. Shots on goal was 28-20 in favor of the Stars tonight. Face-off percentage, I thought we lost a lot more draws, but apparently we still won the face-off battle tonight.
The first we did.
Yeah, that's true. 57-43. We mentioned the power plays 0 for 9 altogether for both teams. 0 for 4 for the Stars, 0 for 5 for the Preds. And like you said, James, a real physical game tonight, at least according to the stats guys there at whatever their building is called.
Bridgestone,
that's right, the tire. And the hits were 44-31 in favor of Nashville, which is not surprising when these two teams get together. And per period for shots on goal, it was 8-9 in favor of the Preds in the first, 9-5 in favor of the Stars in the second, 8-4 in favor of the Stars in the third, and then OT with us having the power play, which we didn't really talk about much, 3-2 in favor of the Stars in that regard. So that's that. It's kind of a weird feeling for me, again, just to put a bow on it. I'm sad we didn't get the 2 points and gave Nashville 2 points, but I'm also semi okay with the way that the Stars. But no, I'm very happy with the way the Stars played tonight. I just wish they had gotten the second point. That's all. So that's me at the end of the day. Yep. Any last words, gentlemen?
Stars keep crawling their way back up. 59 points. We're tied technically for the second playoff spot with Edmonton and Anaheim. So we are slowly moving up a little bit. Next game, James.
It's on Sunday, 1 p.m. against Buffalo in Dallas. It's a home game.
What do the Stars do on 1 p.m. Sunday games, James?
Shut up!
They lose. That's what they do. So the goal for next game is going to be don't lose.
Yes, literally. I mean, I don't even care, because this is a team that's, one, not going to make the playoffs, and two, is not even in our conference.
And three, traded Jack Eichel.
Right, exactly. So hopefully we win that game, and we'll be back with you guys that afternoon. Okay. Thank you guys for listening. This has been the after game review for game 51 against the Nashville Predators. Once again, they lose by a final score in a shootout, 2-1. Along with Chris and James, I'm Ryan. This has been Starcaster Remarks, and we will be with you guys at the next game. We will catch you guys on the flip side. Hope you guys have a fantastic evening, morning, whenever you're listening to it. Have a good night.
I hate you, Ryan.